Hi, I'm Alex, welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. In today's video we're talking about high tide again, but specifically about new store openings following the news releases last week about 3 new stores having been opened. On Friday the company announced the opening of its 80th store under the Cabana banner. This closed the month off as the month with the most store openings in High Tide's history, taking it to 8. This also puts the company well on its way to delivering its target of 115 stores by the end of this financial year. Following this news, I have seen quite a lot of discussion online about why this is not impacting the stock price more, and so in this video we're going to address this in more detail and I'll share with you some analysis. If you're one of these investors, I can assure you that after watching this, you'll see this from a very different perspective. If you're interested in high tide, then this is one you definitely don't want to miss. I'm asking you for a favour again in this video. Please can you smash the like button in our battle against the YouTube algorithm favouring clickbaity content. Please do your bit for the cause and help better the YouTube investing community in the long run and letting the algorithm learn that clickbaity content isn't always needed. I have asked this favour in the last few videos on this channel and the response is still amazing. The like to view ratio is up there with some of the best on the channel and it's starting to work because the algorithm's now sharing the videos more widely than it previously did. So please keep it up, keep smashing that like button, it's massively appreciated. If you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed. If you want to see more content, want to join the private Discord and want to join the private video calls, then check out the Patreon link in the description below. And as always, I'm not a financial advisor, this video is purely for educational and entertainment purposes only, but let's get straight into it. So first off, it's important to recognise what an achievement this is from the company. In the space of a month, they've increased their store count by over 10%. On the basis of their press releases and some quick research, they all look like they're sensibly located stores and very much in line with the kind of stores which have been opened to date. Clearly, a lot of work has gone into this at high tide. It's a good sign to see. And it's definitely putting them on the right track to hit that target of 115 stores by the end of December. In fact, they now have 9 months remaining of the financial year to open a further 35 stores. That equates to around 4 stores per month from here. I do think this is clearly achievable and it's setting up High Tide very well to deliver on that target. I'm not going to get into that debate just yet of whether they can outperform this. Clearly, if they can continue at the rate they are, that's great news. Clearly, if they continue at the pace of opening new stores as they have done in March, they would, but I don't expect this. I think we should be thinking of this as somewhat of an anomaly. I'm sure there will be months where they open plenty, but there's also a degree of seasonality to this. For example, in summer months when people are taking vacations, it becomes harder to secure sites, complete fit-outs, all sorts of other things, so we will see some slow months as well. This isn't something that should concern us or we should be worried by. Personally, I'm taking this as a good sign that they're well on track to hit their target for the year, but nothing more just yet. Of course, I'll keep a close eye on this, and if anything changes, I'll keep you posted. But now into the important point here. There seems to be an expectation amongst many investors that each time a new store is opened, the stock price should increase. This is not exactly how it works. There clearly is a correlation and a connection, but I'm going to walk you through some simple analysis now, which will help you understand this more. While new store openings do have an impact on the financial profile of the company, and as such it should drive an uplift in valuation, there's a more important cumulative effect here, and we'll come on to this shortly. So on the basis of the information we know from the AMA which Raj did on the Canalist subreddit, we know that at maturity, stores generate between $3,500 and $4,000 per day in sales. Clearly this varies by location, but it's a good starting point. We also know that the company is targeting an EBITDA margin of 15%. So taking this information, we can conservatively assume that each store is open for say 340 days per year, giving us a range of annual store sales per store of between $1.2 and $1.4 million, again at maturity. Then, taking the 15% EBITDA margin, this implies an EBITDA per store per year of between $120,000 and $200,000. Then, assuming that High Tide is valued at around 25 times its forward EBITDA, this then implies that each additional store that's open adds an additional between $3 million and $5 million onto the company's value, and this is in terms of an enterprise value. Obviously, the store has additional costs in relation to its opening. Rental expenses are already captured in the EBITDA, but the things we need to account for include costs like setting up the store, the capital expenditures for the store fit-out, and things like that. For this next part, I've made a very high-level assumption here. I have no basis for this, but for the sake of the analysis, I'm assuming that each store costs around $150,000 to fit out. I could be way off the mark here, but ultimately it doesn't have that big an impact on the overall analysis either way. We're talking about fractions of cents from this part. So let's stick with that. So taking that information, we now know the impact this has on the market capitalization for the company from each store being opened, and that's between $2.8 million and $5 million. Then, taking the number of shares outstanding as around 636 million, this gives us an impact on the stock price of between 0.4 cents and 0.8 cents. Said differently, the impact of opening a new store has an impact on the stock price of around 0.5% for each new store opened. The next important thing to remember that this is not all on day one. This is when a store is mature. High tide stores take around 9 months to reach maturity. Basically, this is when the store is operational and operating at its optimal level of sales and profit. Up until this point, things like opening hours, how many staff to have working at specific times, loads of other factors all get refined and managed until the store is operating at a mature level, its optimal sales and profitability. A very fair challenge now would be, well, we need to open so many stores to make a meaningful impact on the stock price. And yes, that's correct. But there are two additional important factors to consider. This is all about the cumulative impact of store openings. Firstly, in 2021, High Tide is planning to open around 40 stores this financial year. It's made good progress against this already, but this alone could potentially drive an increase in the value of around $20 million. Again, as a reminder, this is a long-term investment, so the potential that High Tide increases its store count by 2 to 3x during my investment period is not unreasonable. And then, when you look at the financials on that basis, it becomes a lot more meaningful. Now, the second point to consider is that new store openings increase the company's scale, and scale increases the company's valuation. Let's look at other sectors for examples. Say, Starbucks, with many tens of thousands of stores, is valued more highly than, say, Dunkin' Brands, for example, which has less than half the number of stores of Starbucks. The reason for this is both commercial and financial. Addressing the commercial point first, a greater number of stores implies a greater market share, which in turn commands a greater valuation. The market for cannabis retail is clearly growing, but the rate at which High Tide is opening new stores is quicker than its competition, demonstrating that it's capturing market share. Again, this is a cumulative effect that becomes apparent over a longer period of time. The financial impact of this is that incremental stores do not really add to the overall cost base of the company. Yes, you sometimes may need to add a new head in the finance team, but marketing costs are for the brand overall, as are many of the other overhead cost lines, and these do not directly increase with the store count, and as such, each incremental store drives a disproportionately large impact on the profitability of the overall company, and in turn that does have a greater impact on the stock price. So while the impact of one single store opening on the stock price may not be that significant, it's the cumulative impact which really drives the valuation, and again, this is an example of why this is a long-term investment. You will not be making multiples of your investment from this company opening 3 stores in a week. However, this is a much more realistic prospect when you look at it over a much longer time horizon. A really important point here is to think about market share. It's all relative. If High Tide opens 8 stores in 1 month, but its main competitors are opening 50, then clearly it's losing market share, and this would be concerning. Now, for the avoidance of any doubt, this is not the case whatsoever. High Tide is growing faster than the overall market, and so it's capturing market share, which in turn is positive for its valuation and positive for the stock price. Getting stressed out or annoyed about the lack of price movement when they open one store is not dissimilar from the Starbucks example in the late 90s. Starbucks stock price then didn't move significantly as they opened new stores, but we know where the stock price is today and what their footprint looks like in terms of store count. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't already, and check out the Patreon link if you're interested in the Discord chat, video calls and loads of other stuff. As always, please let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I find it so interesting to hear all the different views, opinions, so please get involved. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.